Okay, we'd like to open the meeting for the Finance Committee for May 27th, 2025. Take a notice of presence of a quorum. Who's taking notes today?
Normally, that's supposed to be the clerk treasurer's office doing minutes, and I'm not sure if anybody on our team is here. I can briefly take notes, but I'm sure they'll go back and listen. But I can do,
Legal, we're allowed to
Yeah.
proceed without the clerk treasurer here.
That's my knowledge, yes. So that they weren't going to attend, I could have looked into that.
Okay, we'll take a note of the presence of a quorum. John Dart, here. Patrick Tam, here. Kurt Wanninger, I'm here. Okay, we'll move on.
presence of the quorum.
Okay, approval of the minutes from March 24th, 2025.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
A second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next item on the agenda is items of business payroll update. And that was to get updates from the clerk treasurer's office, how the progress is going moving forward, as well as retroactive into the past. And also an update from you as well on
Yeah,
that.
I can give just on our end, a brief update with the administration side. I know that the clerk treasurer's office has hired a new payroll manager, and she, as of the last payroll, has completely taken over all of the payroll duties on their end back into the clerk treasurer's office. Baker Tilly is still advising on some of the aspects. We have two items still outstanding on our end that we are still working on, which is accruals and 401A contributions. So we're finalizing those two steps on our end.
What were the two items?
The accruals, which is like PTO time and sick time and all that stuff. So all those were not active from the beginning of the year, so we've been getting all those updated on our end and making sure everything was correct. And then the 401A contributions for the public safety, those were often not made as well. And so I know Kelly last week was finalizing those.
All right, so do we have, is there back pay that is still owed to
No, all
any
that's,
associates?
no, all that's been done already.
All that's been done.
Yes, and we can,
All
all back pay,
payroll back pay has been, but you're still in
Retroactive, yes.
401Ks.
401A, the contribution part,
Has not been done.
correct.
Okay.
Yes, that was a heavy lift. There was about 11 pays that were either off or didn't have, weren't made.
So how did,
So we had to go to every single pay period and do calculations.
yes, how did the back pay get reconciled? I mean, in other words, is there any action that the council will need to take?
Eventually, yes,
Okay, and
for additional appropriation, yeah.
so what's the timing on that? Do you have an idea on the timing on that?
I don't have timing on that.
So
Not without Kelly and Marla here, I don't know.
is Baker Tilly leading that charge, or to work on the reconciliation, or is the new payroll?
Baker Tilly and Kelly were working on that, yes.
When was the switched over to the clerk treasurer's office payroll?
Last pay period, so that was a week and a half ago.
Paycheck hasn't come out yet.
Yes, there
Yes,
has been,
one has
last,
one.
last Friday, the last pay check.
Any issues with that?
There were a couple, but not anything major. It was, PTO time that wasn't calculated right or nothing earth shattering. But that was the first pay that,
It seemed like there was always some in the past too.
Correct, yeah.
There's little things here and there, especially with the fire and police.
Do we have a,
We did.
what is Baker Tilly's total billing to us at this point?
as of right now, we've only had one bill from them
Since they started?
since they've started. I think they've been accumulating it.
Okay.
And I think the last one was like a 30,000 roughly. And so I'm guessing the next one will be roughly the 30 to 50,000 range.
Okay. And
ADP, did we have costs associated with them for upgrading the software
Not that I
and
know of.
updating it? Who's taking care of that? Your mom's office?
Because she was talking to ADP. All those upgrades.
Okay, we'll need to figure out if that's if there are costs and if those costs and if they're coming out of her budget or what.
I'll make them.
And I guess, when we put that in place, John, years ago, that was a contract that was approved by the city council, I think at that time. So if a new contract has been executed by the clerk treasurer's office for upgraded software and a new terms and conditions, Ts and Cs.
Yeah, and I don't think there's been any, like Christopher said, I don't think there's been any updates. It's just what systems.
And
Have we-
nothing's come to me
module,
like
yeah.
most contracts would.
Yeah. I think it's more what things weren't using. And automations,
Okay.
so.
Do you know now, is the ADP system tied together between the clerk treasurer's office and I guess department heads and the employees? Or is it still two separate programs sitting and they're printing off a paper copy and hand typing it all in?
So we
That
last,
was, by the way, that was their choice previously.
correct, can't answer all that because I wasn't involved in, we did not see any of the last reporting from the clerk treasurer's office. They handled all of that last time. I don't think all the department heads have view of all of their stuff yet. I know Kelly has view
And,
of
HR.
in HR, yes. But I don't believe all the departments have view yet. Their people and reporting abilities. I know I don't.
And I guess last question for me, they were somebody was gonna go back and look so many years and do some random checks and stuff like that, going back so many years. Has that been completed yet?
We have talked to Forvis, and I know clerk, Marla, the treasurer, has also talked to Forvis about doing a payroll audit. I don't know where we're at. Sorry, I don't have the answer.
Hopefully the clerk treasurer knows we've got a council meeting tonight, they show up for that as well. Be interesting. Any other questions on payroll, John, Patrick?
no,
Okay. Hearing no further discussion on the payroll update, 2024 ACFR status updates with Baker Tilly. That was gonna be the clerk treasurer giving an update. Do we have any updates internally?
I don't, I know that she has met with them, but other than that, I don't have any updates. I know that they have been, Misha's done a wonderful job of uploading up into the Huddle, which is a secured site for all the reports that Baker Tilly does need. I know she has been working well in getting those reports done in a timely manner. So is Kelly, so I think we're close of getting all the reports that Baker Tilly needs to have to start. I know that they've started the process, but I don't know how deep they are.
Has the contract with Baker Tilly been executed?
Yes.
that was the issue that we had like a week ago. So it's who executed it?
I know that I executed it when Marla was on medical leave. Or leave of absence, I don't know.
Oh, okay, but did we resolve the payment or
There has never been a payment issue.
the funding though of what's in Marla's budget versus?
In her budget, yes. So that's council's decision. So the scope of work and an agreement has been signed.
At the request when we were doing the budget last year, the clerk treasurer wanted that in their budget, and now we're gonna move it back in ours, okay.
That's the
No.
discussion.
No, it's been pulled off the agenda.
Pulled off the agenda,
Yeah.
okay. So that's further discussion,
Alright.
okay. Any other questions on the 2024 ACFR? Okay,
So what's the timing of the audit?
Great question. Let me see.
Typically, aren't those usually wrapped up like August?
They're normally, but we're behind because I think it's more like September, it's fall. Late fall is when it'll be done. We're behind, but this should have been started in January. And next year, we will be on.
We'll be on
Yeah,
schedule,
we'll be on
but-
schedule next year.
But you've executed the contract, they've started,
They've started,
and, all right, so,
yes, so it'll be fall,
okay.
and it should be wrapped up.
Okay, any other questions or discussion on the 2024 ACFR? Hearing none, we'll move to the 2024 audit status by Forbes. City administration have any updates on that?
Now, again, that's a contract between clerk treasurer's office and I know Kelly has not been involved in those meetings.
Okay. Review of the monthly reports. I assume they were uploaded.
Yep, they were.
Usually Marla gives us a rundown of any discrepancies or anything she sees. I don't see the red line or green line version on here, so.
No. It's kinda hard to see too, so I might have to download them.
Why is it so small?
It's a presentation view, Chris.
I can zoom in. So. There's a lot of information here, that's all.
I will let you know that Mayor has asked me to go through and see where we're at budget-wise and where we're over and under on things just for getting prepared for budget and year-end stuff, so
So you should be mostly around like, what, 76 to 60%
60.
so.
There are some items that were either because the project's either ended or wherever, so we're either at 100% or,
Or we used all the salt in this fall, winter,
yes.
not in the summer months.
Yeah.
So, some of those balance out towards the end of the year.
Right.
Okay.
I know there will be some just for.
It's Indiana, anything's possible in June.
Right.
After this past weekend,
This year, I hope not, but yeah.
You want me to just,
Yeah, and then
that's
thank you,
fine.
Kayla, for updating the website.
And I have a note just to make sure, during next month, that they automatically add to that westfieldin.gov /financial reports. So just to make sure that that does it automatically.
Because the dashboard, just for you guys to know, the dashboard is a back-end thing that we can't access. It is a clerk treasurer and a comms.
Yeah, it's the editing portion.
Yeah, the editing portion of the website, not for us to, we don't wanna get in there and.
I wish the clerk treasurer's office would be here, because they usually give us a kind of behind the scenes where they move or transfer funds around, and we don't usually get to see that unless she explains that to us, so. See if we can get an update from her. I'll follow up with her on that and see if we can get an update on any of those reports.
Thought she said in the email that she was gonna provide you guys a report.
Does anybody have any questions on the appropriation fund or revenue report? Otherwise, we'll move on to the next item. That's also clerk treasurer. Hearing
No questions by me.
2024 year-end close report status. Marla was gonna give us a report at the previous meeting, and then she was not present at this meeting, so we still have not received the 2024 year-end close report status from the clerk treasurer's office. So hearing none, we'll move on to the next clerk treasurer's investments and updates, 2024 year-end performance. Again, clerk treasurer's office was gonna give us a report and has not provided that to council or at this meeting. So we'll continue to request that report from her, as well as investments into 2025 and performance based on those. Okay, city administration comments and comments and deadlines, budget preparation. Danielle?
Yeah, so we have finalized our timeline budget. Mayor has his draft white paper we will be reviewing this week. Him and I and then the department heads are starting to look at innovation ways and budget cuts for next year. We'll start working on budgets starting next week. And that will be into full swing for administration side, and then we will start doing trainings on SB1 to council and so you guys can fully understand the impacts of how that's gonna impact our budget for next year.
That's, excuse me, that's what the training will be about?
Part of it, yes,
Okay.
in his his white paper priorities.
Yeah, so, you don't have a, can you pull up your budget timeline? I don't know if you have the ability to pull that up.
Do you have that? Or do you want me to send it to you?
Yeah,
Do you want to put it in Teams?
Sure, you wanna send it to me?
I just have a few questions. I thought it'd be appropriate to pull it up.
Give me 1 second.
Oh wait, I'm not in here, no, I'll just.
Where do you want
my
You want to put it in your email?
I got it.
Me too.
Outlook.com, Chris.
What's easiest for you?
You just,
Just restart your computer.
that would really set me back right now.
So the budget timeline, I'll just kind of talk a little bit more about this. Why we're waiting on Christopher, not staring at him and making me nervous, is that this is basically the same exact timeline. We are about a month behind compared to last year, just because of SB1 and trying to
Yeah.
find.
My questions are really around the white paper, which is really designed to kind of set the tone and the vision for the upcoming year, right?
Right, yeah, Scott did it
But
last year.
it just seemed like, maybe I'm wrong here, but it just seemed like the council wasn't going to be involved in any of the discussions, or, again, I can't tell from this list, where did the council come in? So the paper, it says, you know, mayor and deputy mayor
Yeah.
review the white paper,
It's
and then
this-
it says with leadership team, does that include?
No,
the
the leadership
council?
team is the directors. The white paper will go over budget priorities on the week of the 16th.
But I guess the question is, when, shouldn't the council be involved in, can we talk about this today, or like, this is appropriate, right? Shouldn't the council be involved in the white paper
That's
as
Scott's
well?
that's Scott's priorities. the
Okay,
budget.
but it's not necessarily aligned with the council. And all I'm asking is if there's not alignment with the council, the white paper, I understand his vision, but I think it'd be great to say, here's council, here's what the mayor's vision is, are we aligned, where are their issues, where are their concerns, before this goes public,
It does,
I mean,
the
when I
white
say
paper doesn't,
public, before it goes to all the department heads, cause if we're not aligned, I don't know if that matters. Am I overstepping there or not? I just feel like the council's getting involved too late.
you know, the budget is the mayor's budget.
I think it's typically created by
By
the
the mayor.
administration at the beginning stage, that's my
And
experience.
then you guys have,
then we can make edits, amendments,
yeah,
changes
so scroll
through
down a
that
little bit.
process. We, though, in practice, particularly last year, were involved earlier, which I
Which you
think
guys-
everyone likes to do better.
Right, and we will
And
still,
that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
and we'll
which I
still do
think-
that, cause we'll
yeah.
have council budget workshops to review the proposed budget, and that's when you guys, we sat down and,
Which frankly you proposed already, and we're trying, I asked
Yes.
some
Yep.
training slash,
yeah,
Question.
there's two different, yeah.
yeah, and
It'll need to be, I'm used to posting it and then at the bottom just saying a quorum may be present. If it's truly like a big workshop, that's what I'm used to doing.
okay,
But that
that's why I
doesn't-
added you
Yep,
on that email,
thank
'cause I didn't want to.
Yep, you're totally right, thank you.
A foul.
But that doesn't occur till the 18th, so it's a month and a half out.
There's two different ones.
Yeah.
There's a training, just so you guys can understand where fiscal plan and the, that's like the priorities and the SB1 impact, because it's gonna be,
That's the week of the 16th of
Mhm.
June.
yes.
Will we have reports available sometime, I don't know if it's June? That shows, cause we struggled to get reports for the 2025 budget on current spend, where the departments are projecting to end the year. Right, I mean, we just had a hard time with that.
That's, yeah. 'cause
I
we
know,
don't have that.
and that's
That's
in
hard,
my opinion, that's how the budget starts.
right,
Certainly the white paper's critical.
right, and it's hard
that's
when we
how
don't
a
have
budget starts,
access
is to
to
go-
Business Central to run reports.
Say that again?
It's hard when we don't have access to Business Central and we can't access some of those numbers that we need to run those.
I just,
I don't know how to.
Yeah.
It will be easier to do the comparison, definitely, because we have our budget from this year to next year that will be able to be comparable, because I know that was a
all the big buckets for comparison, correct.
correct, which would be much easier
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
year for us.
Okay. I guess,
We have our one-on-one meetings with the mayor. Everybody's got those scheduled throughout the month, so just we can prompt the individual council members to
yeah, I think
request
we
that.
should have alignment though on what reporting do we wanna see as a council, so that we're not all over the board and asking either the clerk treasurer's office or somebody else to create a report that we need for the budgeting process. So maybe we can take that offline and discuss what reports we truly need.
Right.
To do our comparison.
And I know Kelly has asked for that too.
Alright, can you go down a little bit then and, so we're,
And that week of the 18th is exactly what we did with you guys the previous year, where we brought you guys in with the binders and
okay, so that's the timing on that? Ooh, that's not a good time. I'll be gone in October, but.
and again, that's just the proposed, right, draft.
But you're, based on this, you're really by the middle of October, you want this hopefully agreed upon and
And
submitted.
adopted.
I think it has to.
So,
Yeah, it has to be.
did we do that in October last year, or was it later?
We did it a little later, it was like
31st.
31st, it was at the very,
It was at the very end,
It's
by
the
the
last
way.
day you can do
We-
it.
Yeah.
We couldn't have been any later last year.
But you got it in.
No.
You
I
slid-
mean, there's a chance.
You slid into home
We were
base.
right on
You got it.
schedule.
right
on
on
schedule.
schedule, yeah.
Alright,
And it's just, it allows the clerk treasurer to have time to get it uploaded into the gateway, which, takes time.
I kinda agree with you, John. Scott's taking some of his priorities and things like that to some of the departments, and then we're not aligned, then, I mean,
that's my point.
that's what we're here to do, look bad, but.
No, that's kind of my point. I mean,
Yeah.
I like the fact that the mayor has got this vision and he's developing a white paper for people to get aligned with, but I just believe that the council should be involved in this on the front end versus after the presentation's already been made to the department heads, because he could be sending them down a path to go, this is what we're gonna do, and the council could say, I'm sorry, we're not going to align on infrastructure in 2026, I'm just throwing that out there. Infrastructure or whatever it might be, so
And like you said, he kind of did that last year with us, and I know I did that individually in my monthly meetings with him. We went through different things that I didn't support or weren't aligned with, and I think we all kind of did that, and then he kind of reworked it a little bit.
I'd love to see Danielle on executive session. We can do that. Can we do an executive session on,
For the budget,
no, for the white paper? Is that possible to do?
no, I don't see,
No, you can't.
that's about the budget, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's about the budget, no.
Okay.
Without knowing something additional that would be, that just a budget overview would not be an executive session.
No further questions for me?
Patrick is the council president, we could request that from Scott or have that discussion with him, or
Yeah,
I could do
would.
it, I could do it in my role too as finance
I
chair.
think all three of us can do that individually. He
Yeah.
expects it.
So you can advise Scott, he'll be having conversations with us. Okay, let's see, next thing is clerk treasurer's comments. Hearing none, we'll move on, council comments. John, you have any further comments?
Yeah, like I said, I'm gonna be out of the country for most of October, so sooner we,
You're not taking us?
I'm going to Italy.
Okay, let's go.
So,
Awesome. I'll hitch a ride with you.
yeah, so my only comment would be that alignment by the finance committee, of course, is critically important as much as it is, but the council in the sooner, in September, for me anyway, that would be awesome.
Yeah, if we can get it done early,
Okay.
more power to us.
Yes, yes. Well, like I said, I think we can. We were kind of all new to it last year, right? And if we can get the reports that everybody can agree to look at and review, that'll help a lot. I think we were creating reports as we were going along, and it was confusing the clerk treasurer's office and everybody else, so I think that's important.
Patrick, any comments?
No.
Okay. My only comments would be, I'm disappointed the no representation from the clerk treasurer's office here, and I know the meeting prior to this in April, that was on me because I had immediate death in the family and we canceled for lack of a quorum, so that was on me for that situation there, but I know the previous meeting prior to that, Marla didn't show up and sent one of her representatives that wasn't prepared, did the best she could do in that situation. And I think maybe there was one other meeting where she didn't show up. So the finances of the city of Westfield are very important, and we need our clerk treasurer present to be able to ask those questions and to share reports of the city's finances with the committee, as well as in a public forum. So I'm quite disappointed there was a no-show at today's meeting. Okay. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Meeting closed. Okay.